Today in this video we're going to look at the difference between long and short day plants and what causes them to flower a little bit differently. Kind of a difficult concept to wrap your head around and to understand, so I wanted to draw it out a little bit more specifically to be able to explain it further. The first thing that we want to look at is this pigment called a phytochrome. And this is a light sensing pigment. It measures the length of dark periods. And there's actually two different forms of it. The first form is called PR, and the second form is PFR. And these two different forms have some different characteristics. The PR form is more stable than the PFR form. And in light, the PR form changes to PFR. The PFR then is obviously a little bit less stable than the PR form. And in dark, it changes from the PFR form to PR. So in light, it changes from PR to PFR, and for PR, and then PFR, it changes in darkness from PFR to PR. So they kind of go back and forth depending on the day and the night, converting back and forth. The PFR form is more active, and it binds to the receptor proteins, as we'll talk about a little bit later on. And I can draw this and show this a little bit more. So the PR is going to be converted to PFR when a specific type of light is present, and that is light that's at 660 nanometers. And this is going to be like sunlight. The opposite, the PFR, is converted to PR in light that's about 730 nanometers. We call this red light. This would be like sunlight that, light that bounces off of and reflects off of the moon. We call this far red light, and then our 660 is going to be just red light, red sunlight. And so with this understanding now, let's take a look at the differences between these two different types of plants that we call long day and short day plants. And long day literally just means plants that flower when the days are longer, so the summertime. And then short day plants are going to be plants that flower when the days are a little bit shorter, like in the early spring or in the late fall. Different species of plants have different times of when they flower, and there's also some that flower regardless, call those neutral day plants. And so I've got some sun and moon here that we'll use to kind of help diagram this out. Let's start with long day plants. So in long day plants, we've got the beginning of the day, we have our PR of the phytochrome, and it's going to be converted to PFR when there's 660 nanometer light present during the day. At night, that PFR is going to get converted back to PR in the 760 nanometers, the far red light. The thing with the long day plants is there's some sort of minimum amount of PFR that must be present. So again, PFR is an activator for gene expression of flowering. So in order for the plants to be able to flower, these genes have to be activated, and the PFR is an activator for that. So for long day plants, the amount of time of daylight, let's just go with some pretend numbers. Let's say that there needs to be 18 hours of sunlight, and that's the minimum amount. And so if there's 18 hours of sunlight, then there's going to only be 6 hours of darkness. Because there's enough time of sunlight, there's 18 hours. Over the course of the night, there's still going to be PFR present. So during our night, we've got our PFR here, and it's getting converted to PR. There's not enough time for all of the PFR to get converted to the PR. And so what this then allows is, because the PFR is an activator, the plants then are able to flower. The short day plants is kind of a little bit of the opposite, where instead of being, we'll get short day here, instead of being PFR, instead of it being an activator, the PFR in this case is an inhibitor. So let's draw this one out as well. We've got PR, and during the day, just like the long day plants, the PR is being converted to the PFR, and then at night, the PFR is being converted to the PR. And I drew this arrow here a little bit bigger for the night, the 760 nanometers. I drew this larger because in the short day plants, the days are literally shorter. And so there's going to be more hours for the PFR to be converted to PR. So if I go back and grab our sun and our, no, I can't grab the sun. Well, we've got more time of the moonlight here. So let's say that this is now 12 hours, and for sunlight we've got 12 hours. There's more hours of darkness, and so that provides more time for the PFR to get transitioned back to the PR. And because the PFR in short day is an inhibitor, that then allows the genes that cause flowering to be expressed in the plant to flower because there's no inhibitor present. So that's really the difference between these two different types of plants. Again, as I mentioned earlier, not all plants are either going to be long day or short day. There can be some that are neutral, that are going to flower regardless. But one of the cool things about this then is now that we have this understanding of how the plants flower, we can manipulate how much light they receive and when they receive it in order to induce either long day or short day to flower out of season. And in the lab or in a controlled environment, we can give them light at specific times in order to encourage them to flower outside of their normal regular season. I hope that was helpful in explaining the difference between these two different plants and being able to better understand the process.